take them here. And put it this way, if we got hit with a major flare, we don't have enough transformers in reserve to even get the power back up. And do you know how many people would perish from that? People in the hospital, most hospitals only have a few days of diesel to run the generators. Nuclear plants only have so many days to run a nuclear plant to keep it, cooling. Okay, what's going to happen if we have no power?
Well, I can tell you this. If you want to picture what it would be like after about 3 months of that, going into about 3 years of total nothing, just watch a few episodes of The Walking Dead, because you're going to have people with disease. You're going to have all the criminal element will be at full force. They'll be robbing everything, looting. It will be chaos, total chaos.
It wouldn't take 3 months, because you know what? Talking to RW, perfect example in Florida on Friday. The stores were sold out of food already just because they thought the hurricane was going to hit. So everybody went to the store, panicked, and they wiped out the grocery stores of food, bottled water, anything they could put in their mouth to eat pretty much was gone. Now, how long would it take? I mean, let's face it. If the grid system goes down, that means also you're forgetting your car isn't going to run. The truck isn't going to run. The trains aren't going to run. The planes aren't going to fly. So how are they going to get food from the warehouse to the stores? That's going to be a dead end right there. So
you want to hear? I was just going to say, here's another crazy fact about that. You spoke about the transformers. I just live in a little town, maybe 40,000 people. It's like a twin city type thing. There's transformers all over. I couldn't even try to calculate how many transformers just in my little town, not to mention clear across the country. How the heck would we ever replace all those? You know how long that would take?
Years, and that's the bad part. And then it's going to be other countries, that they're going to have their grid systems down, like Canada and all that stuff. So everybody's going to be trying, to get transformers. And it's going to be 2 to 3 years before they could get the grid system back up, if they even could. That is what I am so concerned about. Why are we talking about sending people to Mars right now? Why are we talking about returning to the moon? Why are we talking about building a wall when we need, number one thing, if you want to have security of this country, darn grid system, do that first. And then everything else can fall in place.
That is, that is a really scary, if you really sit down and think about it, because that will cause all kinds of havoc and chaos, and the criminal element will be at full force.
Well, it's not criminal. Look, let's say you got a family, okay, a couple kids.
You got to eat.
They're crying, Mommy, I'm hungry. Feed me. You don't have no food. So, at that point, money isn't going to be worth much of anything unless you got gold or silver. And who knows what you're going to get for a bar of silver for food. So I tell you what happens. People start thinking about preservation. So guess what? They're going to go knocking door to door to people that look maybe like they got something stashed. Hey, that's their grocery store. So that's when other people's lives really become, a kind of a threat, because who knows what somebody would do. If somebody came into my place, right, and demanded all my food, I don't think they're going to walk out.
What are you saying? They might stay for a while?
I'm going to say that they're going to find out what my gun does, and then maybe we'll have a barbecue afterwards.
You're saying your hospitality might not be appreciated.
Yeah, who knows? Cannibalism might come back. Who knows?
Oh, jeez.
No, but seriously, think about that.
Yeah,
I mean, it wouldn't take more than a couple of weeks, and people would really everything would break down. Your law enforcement would break down probably within the first week. Military isn't going to be able to get their vehicles out really to help you. The only vehicles they're going to run are the stuff that was made like in the 60s and, the 70s. Going in the 80s, forget it, because they got some type of electronic ignition. It's not going to work. So I got to say something to Karen. Yes, you got exactly what I was implying, okay? And you would be invited to the barbecue, okay? Anyway, but that's what we have to look at. It's scary. So why are we spending money on crazy things when we need one, asteroid. We need to figure out a way to deflect an asteroid from hitting our planet. Maybe nudge them, if they don't come into our atmosphere. Maybe buy another 10, 20, or 100 year cycle before it comes back around to save a population. Well, we need to do that. We need a grid system because we can't afford the grid system to go down. Okay, just think about it. Also, your cell phone isn't going to work. You can't have no access to your money, the banks, or my stock market, all that. It's all history, gone.
Yeah, the government will probably shut down. And you mentioned the police. The police are human beings, too. They got families, too. So, they're probably eventually going to resort to doing what they got to do to feed their family, just like everybody else.
Well, I think a lot of police officers are going to say, hell with that. I'm not going to risk my life for this. I got my own family to worry about. Right. I know people personally. I have a friend that has an old Nike base in Eastern Washington, that he can go into, and put it this way, hey, a bomb can go off, right in front of his big door, and he's going to survive. He can survive, I think, for about 3 years. Now, I don't know what life would be like after a major asteroid hit, but we need to really think about this, okay? My feeling is if I was the president of the United States, I would be saying, hey, look, asteroid and the grid system should be the top priority. And then what afterwards, should fall in place.
Right. And you're speaking of the asteroids, it's one thing to deflect them. I think we need a better way to find them earlier. And then if we're going to find a way to deflect them, you got to be careful you don't break them up, because now you may have 10 disaster missiles coming in and hitting 10 different places or whatever.
No, so, more than that. You could have thousands and thousands of, lethal projectiles coming down and wiping out the city that way, like a machine gun. But it's gone.
Right. Look at the, what was it, an asteroid or comet that hit Shoemaker Levy 9. It hit Jupiter. And that was like 9 pieces that hit that thing. If one of those would have hit us, we'd have been done. It'd been a Ellie event. We'd have been extinction, mass extinction.
Yeah, and that's what I'm scared about. And one thing I will say about the wall on the news today, it came down. Mexico was going to pay for the wall. It never happened. Now we're taking the money from the military, and we're taking the money for building schools and stuff to, help now build the wall, which I think is ludicrous. Why do we need a wall? You can't put a wall up against the whole United States, and that is totally crazy. What are they going to do? The same thing up in Canada too? Put a wall up in Canada because we're going to get aliens, Chinese or whatever, coming from Canada into the United States. When is this ludicrous going to stop? Thoughts going to quit here?
I don't know, but I know that's a lot of man hours to put up a wall on both borders, not to mention just one.
We don't have the frickin' money to do it. Where are they going to rob it from? The Cub Scouts next?
I don't know, but I do. You do bring up great points about the grid system. Though. That should be like priority one.
Well, I think number one, it should probably be the grid. Number two would be for looking for asteroids, and because we don't have even enough money to do that. A lot of these asteroids, big ones, near miss. I'm talking ones the size of Mack trucks or buses, or even bigger. Go at least a couple times a month, come skimming by the Earth, and we don't know about it till it's already passed. Even the authorities who are out looking for these asteroids, they're in shock. Oh, we didn't even know that one existed.
Right, and you know what? One could come in. It's not, say, a killer asteroid. Say it's one that could cause a lot of damage. But what if it hit a strategical place like Yellowstone, the super volcano in Yellowstone, and it activated that and acted as a catalyst, and now that kicked in? I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into these things. It's not, they're dangerous all around.
Yeah, and I think, too, they need to put a plan together about Yellowstone. I'm really concerned that is going to happen one day. Maybe not in my lifetime or your lifetime, but in somebody's lifetime, that is going to erupt. That is so unstable. I mean, the whole Earth lately, there's a lot of volcano activity going on again. And it's just a matter of time when something is going to happen. Like we talked about the other night, if Yellowstone goes, even where I'm at, I'm going to be affected. And then 30 days later, guess what? You go outside and it's nighttime and it's cold, and that stays for years. Well, what's going to happen about our food supply? What's going to happen about anything? That's so scary. And how many people are going to perish from it? A lot.
Yeah, and you bring that up. The first people that's going to be going to be everybody east of there, because the wind currents and the weather flows west to east. Not that you won't get it, but we're going to get it first and harder where I'm at, unfortunately. Geez.
Well, they say about 30 days it would encase the whole Earth, where we'd be at nighttime 24/7.
Well, yeah, it just gets up in the jet stream up in the atmosphere and just keeps spreading until it's like a nuclear winter. And then what happens? Your crops die off. Your planes can't fly. So now you've got no food to truck across the nation. Prices will skyrocket and threatens governments shutting down and all kind of craziness.
Well, face that, you won't even be able to drive your car because your filters in your car will get plugged up really fast. When Mount St. Helens up here in Washington State blew, it's funny, even down to the Cowlitz River down in Longview area, in Cowlitz County, we had tons and tons of ash. And think about that. That ash is going to just come down like snow, and it's going to be feet deep.
Now, how far was you there? Was you living in Washington when that happened, and how far are you from that?
Well, I was living in Seattle at the time, so we're talking what about maybe 100 and some miles away from it, and
wow.
and actually we were getting ash and everything in Seattle too.
Yeah, that's actually kind of close. I wouldn't want to be that close. And that was just one little volcano with one little event. Imagine, take that times, 100 or better super volcano when it goes off. You don't want to be around.
No, because what I read too, that could take out the whole state, let alone part of Idaho. Well, Washington even it could affect eastern Washington. But then what happens afterwards? But I don't want to be groomy. What do you call it? Talking doom stuff here tonight on the show, because there's so many, and that's what we're doing right now. But
give me a night.
We need, what I'm trying to say is we need to spend the money the right place. The right place is, again, I'm going to stress the grid system. Okay? We need that, because without the grid system, people are going to die in nursing homes, hospitals. Again, what do you call it? The reactors, it supplies city power for the cities and towns and all that stuff. After they run their diesel out, what's going to happen? They're going to have a meltdown. I mean, we got to work on the grid and then work on, for asteroids, comets, we know where they're at. It's the asteroids out there. It's so much of it, space junk. A missile falling back, hey, maybe a piece might come in and wipe out a little teeny, area. But, something the size of a big bus or a Empire State Building or bigger, like a football player field, or like that. How much damage would that do when it slams into Earth?
Oh, more than I want to even deal with, I can tell you. And another thing, there was theories that some of these things could bring in some biological microscopic things that could be dangerous to us also.
Well, we got more worry about that right now with Antarctica melting, don't we? Because who knows what's been buried under the ice for all these millions of years that's now starting to pop out. Even corpses are starting to pop out, in different, like the Himalayas and all that stuff, because, all the ice is melting everywhere. Yeah,
because, think about it. Through the last 150 years, you got mountain climbers or whatever, and they disappear. Well, they've been maybe under, 5, 10, 15 feet of ice or a glacier, and it's melted off. And like you say, these bodies are popping up now. So that water's got to go somewhere. Where is it going? That's a lot of water.
Well, it's going into our sea level, and our sea level is going up. I mean, I've talked to people who live in Florida, and some of the towns right there on the water, during the day when the tide comes up, full tide, now, like even the manholes, water is just gushing out of manholes because the water is coming up. It's coming up some of the streets and stuff like that. Hey, don't worry about it. Climate change is not affecting the Earth. I can't understand what is going on, because We're